Hello, welcome back. Today I'm going to be sharing more knowledge on the wisdom of psychedelics and plant medicines and a misconception that a lot of the world has as psychedelics are starting to expand and more people are starting to work with them, and they are still being referred to as drugs. So the point that I really want to make is these are not drugs because believe me, and pretty much anyone will tell you this, is they do not create an enjoyable experience if you misuse them. You know, the first time that you sit with psychedelics, if the set and setting is right, you can have just one of the most beautiful, elated, connective, enlightening, expansive experiences. And within this, you are usually shown a few things in your life that you need to shift, that aren't quite in alignment. And so what happens is, if you don't integrate that knowledge, and then you go and you sit with the medicine again, and this could mean like the first time you sit with LSD, and then you don't integrate, and then you go and you sit with mushrooms. They're similar. They're going to show you the same things. They're still working with your consciousness, and you can find that then those things that you didn't integrate from the last one, they actually get louder in the second trip. So then the next time you sit with psychedelics, you're like still having this expansive experience, having a broader perspective of life and feeling open-hearted, but then you're also hearing, oh yeah, that thing that I heard last time, it's getting dug a little bit deeper. And so then if you do it again and you haven't integrated it, it just gets louder and louder and louder. And now this, without a doubt, happened to me whenever psychedelics were introduced to me. No one in my community was discussing integration, and I wasn't going to any traditional therapy yet, and I didn't necessarily sit with psychedelics because I wanted to change anything. I definitely, was in a period of my life where I knew things were not flowing, that things needed to change, but it wasn't, I really didn't know the world that I was entering by entering into psychedelics. I was very fortunate. I had a couple of friends that I really, really trusted, that they had a powerful experience with it, and they came to me and they said, Shannon, like, the way that your mind works, I think you would really benefit from, trying LSD. And I was like, sign me up. Like, I love you guys, I trust you guys. Like, they were just people that I found a lot of value in how they showed up in the world. So I was like, all right, like, yeah. But in the in-between, like, we weren't quite talking about like, okay, so you're finding some really deep rooted aspects of yourself that are controlling the way that you're showing up in the world. We weren't really talking about how to do that. Like, none of us were meditating yet. And like, we were beginning to start reading the books about expanding consciousness and like learning more things, but it was all at the beginning, and we're kind of all doing it together. And so I found I kept wanting to sit with psychedelics. Like, we'd get together and we'd have these sessions, and I would find each time it got like darker and darker and darker. And for me also, what was happening is I had no idea like what was happening, but I'm a highly sensitive person. I'm very intuitive, and my energetic field is incredibly porous, and I have the ability to, like, I'm an empath, like many of us are. And so often in these spaces, I was feeling everyone's stuff, and I had no fucking clue how to differentiate it all. And it was really confusing. And so then the next day I would just be tired. The week following I would be like depressed. And it's because I had absorbed everyone's stuff. Also unlocked parts of my stuff that I hadn't seen. So anyways, stopped being medicine. And so eventually I was like, I'm not doing these sessions, you know, like I'm going to really, yeah, start doing the work in between. And, you know, I started studying Buddhism. I started working with Joe Dispenza's method of meditation and visualization. I learned Reiki. I learned EFT, the tapping technique, and slowly but surely I was able to learn how to integrate. And yeah, like, so going back to like how these medicines, the reason that they are medicines and not drugs is because they no longer are enjoyable if you don't actually integrate them. And this is the same with marijuana. There are periods of time in my life where I get really just kind of like crunchy and like really stuck in structure and routine, and I'll smoke marijuana and I feel it just next thing you know, like I'm giggling at myself in the kitchen. I'm, you know, writing down, journaling some really fun, like expansive, thought-provoking things that are coming into my mind. But then what happens is that's so nice that I do it again the next day. And then it's nice the next day. Maybe it's nice for a week. Maybe it's nice for a week or two. Honestly, I believe it depends on what's going on in your life and like why you need that support. But every time, eventually, I find myself smoking marijuana and not feeling better than I was sober. Like, it exacerbates how I felt sober, whatever it was that was kind of lingering in my mind, whether it be like sadness or overthinking or fear, stress. And it tells me, hey, like, yes, it's still medicine. If anything, it's actually becoming stronger medicine. It's saying like, hey, these are the things you need to be looking at. I'm not going to numb them for you. I'm actually going to highlight them for you. And when this happens, I know that it's time to stop using marijuana and start doing things in my day-to-day to shift the things that the marijuana is making sure I see. And yeah, it's same with mushrooms, it's same with LSD. You know, MDMA especially is like, God, it's just the most precious medicine ever, and I just really advise everyone to use it responsibly. Like, the first time you sit with MDMA, like, it's just the most expansive, beautiful experience you'll ever have. It's life-changing. And of course, this isn't for everyone. Again, setting like who you're with, where you're at, but like for most people, like that experience of having your heart just pop open and you feeling that desire to just express to everyone how much you love them, and understanding how much you love yourself, and having so much grace and compassion for how you've been maneuvering through life, and it's just so beautiful. So then you want to experience it again. But again, it is a medicine, and it's even stickier because it actually has neurotoxicity that comes into play if used too much. So I really advise anyone working with MDMA to, maybe that first year when you first meet it and you're using it therapeutically, once every 6 months, and then after that, once a year. And be really conscious and intentional about when you use them. For me, I used MDMA a lot the first year that it came into my life. And by a lot, like, I don't know how many times did I use it that first year. A lot. Probably 15 times. Could be more. Hard to say, but I no longer receive the magic from MDMA. And so, because I've tried to use it a couple times, once a year, at Burning Man specifically, so like a sacred place where I'm like, this is like a big deal, like I want to have this experience here. Yeah, it's no longer the same. it still has medicinal properties, but it's not the magic that it used to be. It's not the massive now it's actually become more of a conversation between my heart and my mind about how to open it up, about how to pull back the layers in order to fully have an open heart, versus usually like the first few times you take MDMA, your heart is just open. You just live in that state. And so it is still medicinal, but honestly, like, don't plan on taking it for a couple years now, because if it's not having the magic, and then it has the possibility of neurotoxicity, it's not worth it. And I just think it's so vital for people to really understand that these medicines, I mean, anything that you do, you know, your coffee in the morning, or your cup of cacao in the morning, the glass of wine that you may have at night, being intentional about it. Like, why are you doing it? What does it give you? And is it actually benefiting you? Is so important. But plant medicines specifically will always let you know when they are no longer medicinal. They will be really, really loud and clear. So these are not drugs. These are not something that you can just take and take and take, and that they numb and make things better. Like, no, like, they tell you how much you need to do some work to make things better. So I would appreciate anyone listening to this to receive the message to, one, not call these drugs. Call them medicines. So that's what they are. They have the ability to really shift your reality for the better, to expand your awareness, open your heart, give you clarity about what in your life is out of alignment, so that way you can live a more joyful, connected life. And yeah, they're very sacred. So please use them with intention, with respect for what they are. And yeah, let's just like kind of break that that pattern of people in society calling them drugs, because 1000%, I mean, grandmother ayahuasca has spoken to me very clearly and said that her medicine needs to be shared with as many people as possible, as fast as possible, for the sake of Mother Earth and her actually surviving. And I believe that, like, people calling these things drugs, it's slowing down the movement. It's slowing down the shift of consciousness that is happening right now. You know, our evolution of consciousness on planet Earth, our ability for us all to actually come together into community and love and respect each other and honor each other in our differences and in our traumas, and yeah, it needs to happen. So the more that we can be actually conscious about the way that we speak about them, the more we can open up the minds of other people who could really benefit from working with these medicines. Thank you so much for listening. And yeah, I just always want to say at the end of anything that I share is, like, take what resonates and leave what doesn't. You know, I'm incredibly passionate, but I also know, like, I don't know shit. Like, I know what I think that I know, and it resonates really deeply with me. But always the message is to tune into yourself and see if it resonates with you, if it's your truth too.